Right, catching up some of the G.I. Joe classified backlog today. The last video I did was Scarlet and Duke retro carded, but I do have these three ladies that I did want to do together. So this is Cobra Vypra, number 88 in the series, Agent Helix, 104 in the series, and Jodie Shooter Craig, 90 in the series. And these ladies have a little bit more in common than you may think, and that's why it just makes sense to group them together. And these are definitely pretty unique characters in the G.I. Joe mythos. When we look at each one's boxes, we'll go over why they're sort of unique, but it's definitely amazing to have them, and they're definitely, hopefully, they're great additions to the classified line. So we're going to be looking at Cobra Vypra first, 88 in the series, like I said. This is the Python Patrol version of her. And Vypra was, again, a super unique character. She did not have a lot of figures in the original series. Her actual first figure wasn't until series 15 in 1998. And she actually came with a vehicle. She came with a Jeep called a Rattler 4WD, not to be confused with the Rattler, like the Cobra Rattler, the jet, but she was the pilot of it. And I never knew about her whatsoever growing up. Never saw her, never saw the vehicle, never saw nothing. She was a Toys R Us exclusive, and they actually reused her mold for Jinx. As far as I've seen in my research, she was never in the show. She was never in the comic book, nothing major whatsoever at all. And a really interesting fact about her, her real name is Anne Conda. No, really, Anne A. Conda. That's her name on her oath file card. So she's obviously a ninja, she's a pilot too, and her original figure looked like Jinx, but like this bluish, dark bluish color. So all of these accessories and stuff, this is definitely a completely new look for her. She did not have a Python Patrol version back in the day, as far as I can tell. And a lot of these accessories are complete reuse from Storm Shadow. So this is not like a new sculpt or anything cool like that. I actually wasn't going to get this figure originally, but I found it on sale at Target, so I thought, might as well. It was, $7.99 or something like that. You can't pass that up. So obviously we've got the front of the box here, the digital render with the artwork. She is 88, QR code for the store. Bigger version of that art on the front. All right, and here's the back with the digital renders, some detail shots like they've been doing. The icons, mercenary, bladed weapons, martial arts, and ninjutsu. So she's straight. It says nothing in there about pilot, I guess, but it's kind of weird. She was a pilot. She came with her own vehicle back in the day. All right, next up, Agent Helix, which this is her first version ever. This is probably the weirdest figure of the bunch because she's actually based on a video game. She's based on the Rise of Cobra tie-in movie video game. So obviously the game is based on the movie Rise of Cobra, and she is based on an original character designed for the game. So she's not a real G.I. Joe in the sense of the original line. She was created specifically for the game, and she was actually named after the developer of the game, Double Helix. But eventually she was brought into the IDW version of the G.I. Joe comic book universe, not the original Marvel at all. So she has been made sort of like a real character eventually. But I definitely like her design notes. I do think she's a cool design. But like I said, she's a random character in a video game. So I guess we'll see if she fits in with the rest of the line when we open her up. So she's got a lot of cool bladed weapons up here, which I definitely dig. Digital render, artwork on the side, Agent Helix. She's 104 in the series, QR code for the store. Obviously the other side is, the artwork again. On the back, they have all the digital renders, detail shots like normal. And she is covert ops, light weapons, marksman, and martial arts. So she's got definitely a mix in there. But again, marksman, there's no, long range weapon in there. So how does, maybe tie the accessories into the figure a little bit more. But anyways, we'll get to that when we see him. But she's definitely an interesting character just because she came from the game. She was never an original Joe or anything like that. She did have a figure though. It was series 25 in 2009, which is just it was a series, tied into the movie, The Rise of Cobra. All right, next up is Shooter, Jodie Craig. And she is perhaps the most unique story behind these three figures. She was never in the original series. However, she was a fictitious or almost accidental character created in the very first G.I. Joe issue number 1, the Marvel Comics series. So her only appearance in the original Marvel continuity was that first issue. On the first issue, there was a computer screen that brought up a dossier of like all the original, G.I. Joes, and one of the spots was blank. And I guess the editor at the time, Jim Shooter, didn't want it to be blank. So they sort of just mocked up like a sort of like fake, like fun character and just named it Shooter to fill in that sort of blank space. So there was a Shooter, supposedly in the original band of G.I. Joes, but it was sort of like a joke. She wasn't a real character at the time. And now eventually she did get fleshed out into the character. She does have a figure in 2016, which is way down the line. way detached from the original series for sure. And she actually came in a special 3-pack. It was a Special Forces 3-pack, and she was one of the characters in the pack. Eventually, she was introduced into the comic book continuity other than that first, Marvel issue. In the Devil's Due comic series, she was sort of written in as like a teacher at an academy. So just like Helix, she evolved from being sort of, not in the original series to an actual character, which is why we got a figure. And this is her Night Force version. So I don't know if they're ever going to release a regular version or not, but I don't know. But she's got a super interesting story, super interesting character, and it's always good to have more female Joes and Cobra. So front of the package, the name, render, artist, accessories. First side, she's 90 in the series. Second side, bigger art. Right, the normal back with the renders and the sneak peeks at the, details. And she is a marksman, long-range weapons, recon, and stealth. So obviously, she's like a night sniper. Hence the nickname Shooter. All right, time to open. All right, so Cobra Vypra out of the box, and my worries about this figure, why I didn't get it originally, are true. Like, I wasn't a fan of the blue ninjas and the red ninjas designs. They didn't look well to me, so I never got the blue ninjas and the red ninjas. And she's basically the blue ninja head, which is not my favorite head sculpt. It's a little too big for the body too. Like the features on it don't quite match up. The size of the head and the size of the body and everything. And the body is almost complete reuse from actually the Snake Eyes figure, the Akiko from the Snake Eyes movie. That 4-figure set from that abhorrent Snake Eyes movie. It's almost complete reuse from that figure too. So, I mean, there's not a lot to like about this, I guess is what I'm saying. But she's definitely a cool character to have. And she didn't have, again, a Python Patrol version back in the day. So I do think they did the Python Patrol colors here pretty well. My main gripe about the Python Patrol is I wish there was more of this yellow sort of, it doesn't really look like a scale on her, but it's sort of be like a scale pattern. I wish the figures had more of that on them. But I do like the maroon on here. How it's not just a couple pieces, it actually really works, with the color scheme. And, this is definitely, it's hard opening up the newer G.I. Joe figures and going back to an old one. This is definitely an old one, and it's definitely one of the weaker sculpts in the series. Those ones based on the Snake Eyes movies are definitely the weakest. Obviously, she's got pins on her legs here. Her arms might be new. These are not Akiko's arms, so maybe the arms are new. But the legs definitely have pins. They're very, very skinny. Very bunched up there and very skinny down here. The joint is kind of a weird joint right there. It's a little too elongated if you ask me, but I guess maybe they had to do that because the pants, I don't know. So her as a character, I definitely like, but there's so much reuse here, and it's reuse from kind of unsuccessful figures in the first place, in my opinion, just my opinion. So, I'm glad to have her. I'm glad, she exists as a character, but it's not my favorite figure of all time or anything. She's got the basic sort of, G.I. Joe articulation. It's kind of hard to see, but she does actually have small butterfly joints in there. So this was when they, moved to the butterfly joints, started doing the butterfly joints, double elbows, double knees, like I showed before. Her ankle is got, you know, the typical G.I. Joe articulation down there. And a lot of the cloth sculpt work is actually pretty good. It definitely looks realistic. There's a lot of textures up top on this top part right here. And these textures actually stand out more than the Akiko figure because they're painted red. On her, it was black, and she had these like white bars on the outside. So this paint job actually does accentuate, you know, some of the good sculpt work a little bit more. But her movement is actually quite good. Her posability is quite good out of the package. She just have these shoulder pads here, which actually, you know, go around with her arms so they don't hinder it. And this edge is soft plastic, so that doesn't hinder our movement very much either. So, you know, it's cool to have her. It's not the greatest sculpt in the G.I. Joe franchise, and I'm not a fan of this head sculpt at all. But she does have some cool looking accessories. And again, all her accessories, sans one, are just reused from Storm Shadow, the second version Storm Shadow figure. So this is reused from that, but this has some really, really good paint accents on it, especially the feathers on the arrows. And I love the gold symbol there, the clan symbol right there. So, you know, it looks good. And even the swords, right? These are the same swords that Storm Shadow came with. They were unique sculpts, I believe, for him, because the handles have that snake head on the end, if you can tell in the up close shots. And both swords do go in her backpack. So they go in her backpack just like that, just like Storm Shadow, which can go in her back. Surprise! It goes in her back. All right, there we go. I got it in. It's a little bit loose, like all G.I. Joe backpacks. It is moving a little bit as I, you know, flex her and stuff. With this on her, it gives her even more contrast. Just colors on it that aren't on her, like that gold color and everything, the gold and the gray. So, you know, she looks pretty good with the backpack on, for sure. I definitely think it's an improvement from it not being on. And she's got the bow and arrow. Same bow and arrow Storm Shadow had, and a loose arrow right here. So this arrow does go into the pack. There is room to put this in the pack, but also, you know, if you want to get some poses where she's, you know, shooting the arrow, holding it in her hand, that's good. This is semi-bendy plastic, I guess, so you can sort of make, you know, poses, but it's not like a NECA bow with like a string or anything like that on it. So, you know, it looks pretty good. Like the sculpt work and everything, it is pretty plain. There's no paint accents or anything, but it's a bow and an arrow. All right, the bow can hook to the backpack on that little peg right there. It looks pretty good. In my experience, it will not stay there very well, but, you know, it's there for now. Earthquake, wah! But, you know, she can hold essentially all of her accessories on her backpack, nothing in her hand. That's a bonus right there. That's pretty cool. And she definitely looks much better with the stuff on. Like I said, it's more paint accents, and you know, she definitely looks a little bit cooler with that on. And then the original piece for the set is this sort of skull mask that she had. And obviously this is what I'm putting on her. This looks really good. It's got paint accents, you know, the teeth are painted. It's got that cool design on it right there. And, you know, pops right on the head. And like I said, I'm not a big fan of this head sculpt, not at all. So anything is an improvement. So there is her with the skull mask on, which again, is really cool. It's definitely the piece of the set for sure. And it gives it some personality. Like the neck is so skinny though. Like the proportions seem so off. I'm telling you, this head sculpt is too big for this body. The neck is so skinny. And especially with the mask on, it gives her head more girth. Yeah. So it looks a little funny. It looks great from the front though, for sure. So, you know, again, it gives it another contrast, another color in there that's not anywhere else. So again, you know, it's not the greatest figure in the world, for sure. I would suggest getting it at a discount if you really want it, or if you really want to, you know, just collect the Python Patrol or something like that. If you're a Python Patrol collector, you definitely have to get it. But, you know, she's okay. Once she gets all her stuff on, it's definitely an improvement for sure. Sculpt work's not great. The articulation is pretty good. Her posability is definitely good for a ninja. And this face mask, ooh, it makes the set right there. It's awesome. All right, Agent Helix. Right, Agent Helix, and I really like her design. I definitely like her color scheme and everything. Proportions of the figure look really good. Sculpt work looks pretty good. There's definitely a lot of reuse here again. It looks like the arms in the upper chest are new. Obviously, the head is new too. From the waist down is all Scarlet, the original Scarlet figure. So same legs, same boots and everything. But in this color scheme, it actually looks really good. And it definitely, fits with her cyberpunkish aesthetic, I guess you could say. And I know in the game and even the box art too, her hair is definitely more black. Like as far as I understand it, it's black hair with, blonde highlights. But the figure is all blonde, completely blonde. There's no black in it at all, except for that one single strand sticking over her eye, which looks kind of, it's kind of out of place. Looks kind of goofy. But there should be more black here, should it not? Like the box even shows it like that, but I don't know. Anyways, the head sculpt, is pretty good. It's definitely unique. She's got a unique hairstyle. I just wish they followed through with the hair a little bit more and gave her signature hairstyle that she had in the game, in the comic book, everything. This is definitely not 100% her from the comic book or the game. But again, like I said, I definitely like the color scheme of her. I wish they could have worked in some yellow on the legs somewhere, because all the yellow is just completely top loaded, right? Up top. And, some more contrast on her would have, gone a long way. But the original Scarlet, I definitely still like the sculpt work on it. And, the sculpt work here is really good too. She's got some nice, cool details, like whatever this gadget is here has a really, really intricate design on it. Digital screen. In her other side, she's actually got a tattoo. Looks like a band-aid on her skin right there, which you're not going to see very much. Once she gets her weapons on, you will never necessarily see that. So it's an interesting touch, But, aesthetic-wise, she's definitely an interesting character. I like the color scheme. I do like the sculpt work. She's got this cool utility belt here, which is new as far as I can tell, and it's got a lot of pockets. It does have a hole right there, I believe, for one of her knife weapons. She's got 2 gun holsters on her hips right here. She does come with 2 guns. She dual wields them, and she's got a holster for each one right there. So, color scheme is good. The articulation, again, basic G.I. Joe articulation. She does have the butterfly joints up top there. No pins on the arms because they're a new sculpt. These are reused from the first Scarlet, so obviously there's pins here. But, double elbows, double knees, all that good stuff. She moves really good. Posability is very good. Obviously, the female figures, no ab crunch. And there is a swivel up top, and there's a swivel at the hips, too. At the actual waist, too. So, they do get good poses without an ab crunch, for sure. But her proportions look good. She's definitely proportioned better than Vypra, for sure. And I like the design notes, and I like her color scheme, for sure. So the first thing we'll talk about is her backpack. It's not really a backpack. This is all it is. So basically, it's just a sword holster, which is, it's interesting, I guess. I'm not sure why it's not just a backpack, but, it does go like that. And she does come with 2 swords, and these are reused. These are Snake Eyes' swords from the movie Snake Eyes. Again, there's a lot of reuse from the movies on these figures for some reason, the movie series. But I guess they, got to get those expenses recouped somehow. But anyways, these are his swords from the movie series. There's definitely good sculpt detail on here. It's kind of hard to tell, but the handle has a texture, but the blade actually has a texture too. If you go down the blade, hopefully it shows up on the camera. With my lighting's not that great right now, but it does have a design on there right there, and it's got her signature sort of color scheme on there too. And it goes in the holder just like this, and that's why I don't really necessarily understand this, because I mean, if you're running around and stuff, you can't have your swords just be bare like that. Like she's gonna cut her arm off on accident. I don't know. It's kind of a weird design choice, I guess you could say. And maybe I have this backwards. Right, I did have it backwards. So if you flip it around, the swords actually go flush with the holders right there, which definitely, makes it look better. But again, she's got bare sword blades just hanging out there, you know what I mean? So it's definitely a cool aesthetic for sure. It's sort of like a Kill Bill-ish sort of look we have going on here. But I dig it, And then she does come with another bladed weapon, this sort of, I'm going to call this a machete. There's probably a proper term for a blade like this. I don't know it, but it looks like a machete to me. So it's got, the 2-tone paint colors right there. This might be a unique sculpt. I've never seen it anywhere else. And the only place that I can see to put it is actually her belt has this little hole in the back right here. So it looks like you just like stick it up there. But again, it's a bare knife, like just hanging behind her bottom. Like she's never gonna. I mean, if you sit down, you better be careful, I guess. I don't know. It's such a weird design choice rather than not putting like a knife holster down here on her leg or something like that. It's kind of a weird design choice. It's it sticks out quite a lot. Even if you stick the belt down, obviously the belt floats up quite a lot, like a lot of other accessories. But there you go. I mean, I guess that's the way it's supposed to be, and I guess it looks good. But again, you don't want to have knives just hanging off your body. All right, and her guns right here are 2 dual-wielding automatic pistols of some sort, maybe some sort of like Uzi type weapon. And she does have the holsters on her legs. The sculpt work is good. I don't think I've seen these previously. Not sure if they're a unique sculpt or not. Let me know down below. But she does have holsters on her leg again. And she does dual wield these when she, rolls into battle. All right, so they're a very tight fit. It was a little difficult to get them in there where they actually sit down like that. But again, they look good. The ammo clip makes it stick out super long. Like, she's such an awkward character. She's got all these sharp points pointing out, and now she's got a gun cartridges, ammo carts, like poking out too. So she's such an odd, pokey character. But her last accessory, the unique accessory to her, is probably one of the coolest. So let's take a look at it next. It is these. These are, I guess what they're calling is sort of mantis swords. So it's a sword, but it like clips to her wrist. So let's clip it to her wrist right there. And there you go. It's articulated. So there's 2 articulation points right there and right there. So you can sort of point them back, which is pretty darn cool if you ask me. This is definitely a pretty awesome design, if not a little clunky, because they go on, but they're a little bit loose. So I think it's probably not going to stay on all that well, if you ask me. But it's pretty cool, right? Because she can use these swords in her hand and have those ones there. So she's got a plethora of different bladed weapons here, and I think right now, sort of all geared up, color scheme and everything going on. Like, I do really, really like this figure. I do enjoy this figure. I just think some of the design choices in it are just kind of weird. Keeps her from being like a 10 out of 10. And I love her design. I love her design and her color scheme and her character. Shooter. That's interesting. She comes with her mask on her head already. All right, Jodie Shooter Craig does not come with a lot of accessories. It's very minimal, but right out of the package, this is probably my favorite figure of the trio. Like, I really like the design aspects of her, and like I said, she's got the most interesting backstory. She's technically one of the original, G.I. Joe, 13, but with her, it's technically 14. She's got that mysterious past there, and the figure is definitely a worthy one for the line for sure, especially a female character, especially in, a person of color also, which definitely the line has done a great job trying to integrate more of those notes into, the line as it's gone along. So that's super awesome. The sculpt work here is a lot of reuse here, just like the rest of them. The legs, I believe, are movie Scarlet reuse. And the top looks like Lady J. And I definitely like the color scheme too. This is her Night Force variant, but I mean, I don't know if she's ever going to get a normal variant or even what it would look like, because this color scheme is perfect for her role. Her role is sort of like a low light role, like a sniper, from the distance in the dark. Obviously, she comes with this gas mask on that I pointed out before, which is kind of weird because usually the figures come with the masks separate and just the normal face. Well, this one comes with a mask on it. And she's got a couple different hairdos. So she does have a face in behind here. So she does have this gas mask, which has these giant, bug eye goggles on it, I guess. I'm assuming these are night vision of some sort. Night Force, sniper. She's camouflaged to blend in at night out there. That's her MO. That's her role in G.I. Joe. This thing keeps riding up like most belts do. There we go. And like I said, she's got some really cool notes on her. I like the paint accents. There's some, you know, really good details like that right there. The little readout right there on the thing. And she's got a pretty cool tattoo. It's like a cobra, or not a cobra, a snake, you know, holding onto an arrow, because obviously, you know, she's a marksman. And that's a really cool, nice detailed tattoo in there too. Like, it's really, really good. The legs are definitely a little bit different than Scarlet. They are Scarlet's legs, but these are not Scarlet's feet. These are completely unique feet as far as I know. They're like flared out shoes, and, you know, they're super unique. So I guess I like them. I mean, some people might not like them. They look very, you know, sneakery. Like she's wearing some, you know, Reeboks, some Nikes in the jungle shooting things. But, you know, it gives her a unique look to her. That's, you know, that's her unique look, I guess. And I dig it because it's unique. Basic G.I. Joe articulation everywhere. Like I said, this is Lady J's top. So there's no difference than Lady J's. Does have a butterfly joint, double O's, double knees. The foot articulation is not as good as some figures because this boot, or the shoe, not a boot, shoe, the flaring around the edge does prevent maybe a little bit of movement there, but it's not too bad. And I definitely dig it. She's got, you know, straight black hair, but it does have, it goes to sort of brown at the ends right here. It fades off to the brown color. And like I said, she does come with 2 other pieces of hair. So if you take this mask off, bam, you actually have her face underneath there. Because obviously, you know, like I said, the hair comes off the mask. So you can replace the hair. And the face sculpt here is really, really, really good. Especially the paint job. They gave her sort of, you know, that shadowy sort of, you know, that shadowy eyeliner in there gives her a lot of, you know, personality. So let's try this first hair. So this is her first piece of hair right here. So, you know, it's just I don't know, a ponytail in the back, holding her hair out of her eyes so she can snipe. It's got a couple, you know, good sculpt work on here. It's got a couple, you know, strands of hair in the front. Those aren't necessarily bangs. I don't know the term for those, but it's got the same accents in the back too, where it fades to the dark brown color. And then she also has another hairdo right there, which is braided up top. So she took like those strands of hair that were sticking down and braided them up top and brought them around to the back. And there's a small ponytail up top, but it's definitely a different sort of, you know, cut of hair. And it looks really good. I have no idea which one I'm going to display her with. I think I like the middle one the most. I think maybe I like this one the most. I'm not a huge fan of this. It's very insect-like. And I don't know. I like to show her face, show her personality a little bit. But the face sculpt is awesome. It's a unique sculpt. The paint job is amazing. And they did an amazing job for someone with her skin color, I must say. It is ballin'. So I definitely like her figure, for sure. Her figure is honestly the aesthetic and the paint job and the head sculpt and the hairdo all are awesome, right? And literally, other than her hair, her only accessories are her gun. So she got a handgun right here, which I'm sure is not a unique sculpt, but it is, you know, normal handgun. And she does have a holster on her body, which we'll see right here on her legs, so she can holster that gun right there. And she actually, it's kind of odd. She's got a knife holster right there, but she does not come with a knife. Never mind, she does have a small, tiny knife. It was stuck in the bag. I was like, why would she have a knife holder without a knife? So she does have a knife, and it does go in there. So, you know, it got lost in the bag, lost in the sack. Now it all makes sense. Another very small piece in the bag is this, and obviously what this is, I think this is something to go in the backpack hole, obviously. And it holds her gun. So I'm not sure which way it's gonna look best, but this peg goes into her sniper rifle, and then it just rests on this one right here. So we'll look at the sniper rifle next, obviously, because it's her last accessory. And here's her sniper rifle right here. And as far as I know, this is a unique sculpt. I've not seen this anywhere else. It does have a separate ammo clip. Sculpt work is really good. It actually came in the cardboard sleeve as to not bend it. But as you can tell, it's still slightly bent straight out of the package. The shaft is bent up a little bit, and it's a little crooked on the side too. So again, I don't understand how G.I. Joe just can't get this right. Like, they even put it in a cardboard sleeve to prevent it being from it being bent, and it's still bent out of the pack. So it's a pretty awesome gun here. It's obviously a super long range sniper rifle. of some sort. And, you know, sculpt works good. Like I said, there's just some production issues with it. Clip in there. All right, clip is in there, and it's looking pretty good. And the way it goes on the backpack, like I said, is that'll go in there. It goes down like that. So I guess, you know, that's the way it should go. Or, I mean, you could flip this around into any different direction if you wanted to go in a different direction. And, you know, low light was pretty cool where his gun was in the case, and, you know, he would put it together. And she just sort of carries her on her back just like that. But it looks relatively cool, right? And that is Jodie, Shooter, Craig, and her and Helix are by far my favorite out of this set of figures. Vypra is definitely my least favorite, but Shooter right here is awesome. She does not have a lot of accessories, but I love the character. I love, you know, how, you know, she's a minority female in G.I. Joe, and, you know, she was, you know, retroactively added in to be one of the original sort of 14 G.I. Joes. And that's, you know, a special place for sure. I definitely like to see a repaint someday, maybe of her non-Nice Force variant, just to see, you know, the vision of her, you know, in her normal gear or whatever, with maybe a little bit more accessories. But she's definitely a worthy addition to the line. And she's probably my favorite figure out of the three in this video, for sure. If you have any questions about her, let me know below. Right, and that is it for the trio of the newest G.I. Joe classified female characters. Cobra, Vypra, Agent Helix, and Jodie, Shooter, Craig. And I think Helix and Shooter have a lot going for them. They're very cool characters. It's cool to have Shooter as an actual real character. And, you know, Helix has been turned into a real character, like I alluded to before. Those two are definitely the standouts in this episode. Vypra is more of the same, not the best sculpt, not the best anything, not the best posabilities, a lot of reuse from past figures just jumbled together. And she's really not that interesting, but, you know, I got her at a discount, she's here. So I hope I was able to explain a little bit of their backstory and make it a little bit more interesting than, hey, look at my plastic I spent money on. So, guys, gals, non-binary pals, thanks for tuning in, and keep watching for more on Figurama.